What's up, everybody? What's up, MGTOW? So I just wanted to make this video real quick, which is going to be on the topic of anarcho-capitalism. And I will get back to my series on the hot versus rich thing, but just kind of put it to the side because, I mean, the answer is pretty obvious without doing a lot of math, that there's a lot less billionaire men than there are women in the world that guys would consider are tens. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I'll get back to that later. The reason why I wanted to do this video mainly is just because of the confusion between anarcho-capitalism and anarcho-communism, which obviously there's a lot of news about the anarcho-communists these days, and people are just conflating the word anarchist and saying that all anarchists are basically the same thing and all anarchists are bad and anarchism is bad, period. The riots are anarchy. But it's kind of funny because actually Antifa does have a leader, which Project Veritas showed the leaders of the groups within Antifa or whatever getting paid yearly salaries. So obviously they have leaders, they have a hierarchy. They're not anarchist in that sense of the word. So to say that the riots are anarchy, yeah, maybe you can loosely use that in a colloquial sense, but it's not really the real definition, because the real definition means without rulers, doesn't mean without rules, doesn't mean running around shooting people and doing all types of other illegal activities. So, in any case, I think that the kind of main sticking points for me when I hear people discussing anarcho-capitalism, and especially from a lot of libertarians, is this whole point of you need a military, which is true. Of course it's true. You need to defend yourself, and then groups need to defend themselves from other groups, because an individual can never defend themselves from a group. So, the United States and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was basically the closest thing that you'll ever get to anything resembling an anarchist type of state, because the Bill of Rights within itself is an anarchist document, because it's saying that no one, no man, no human has the right to take these abilities away from you. Because to me, the rights are abilities. Like, you have the ability to speak. Okay, so now you have freedom of speech. You have the ability to defend yourself when someone attacks you. So you got the Second Amendment. Freedom of the press. It's all the same stuff. It's just your ability to do things, which I guess you would consider a negative right or whatever, when you're not taking something away from somebody else to get something for yourself. So I think really the point that people miss, even a lot of anarcho-capitalists, is that anarcho-capitalism is not a political system. It's just not. Saying that anarcho-capitalism itself is a political system would be similar to saying that the Ten Commandments are a political system. The Ten Commandments are not a political system. They're a set of principles that people follow, and you can see from the Ten Commandments, there's different interpretations of them, and there's different sects. You've got your Judaism, your Catholicism, your Islam, and then within that you have different sections of those that have different beliefs. But there's basic principles that you can look at and say, oh, well, these are all Christians, because there's certain presuppositions that they believe. And that's what a worldview is. It's a set of presuppositions that you accept as true, whether they are or not. And then from there, you have to accept other facts, and it leads you to certain conclusions about the world. And so the anarcho-capitalist worldview is actually supported by the fact that you need a military, because the anarcho-capitalist worldview says that you can't have authority by fiat. Like, you can't have authority by decree. You can only have authority through merit. And use of force is a sense of merit. Because if you're able to use more force, or force more effectively than your opposition, I would say that's a meritocratic way of settling certain disputes and things like that. And just the admission that nobody's in charge just because they say so, and the fact that you actually do need a military doesn't run counter to the anarcho-capitalist worldview. And like I said before, the American Constitution is the closest thing to creating a system for individuals to work together as a group. So to me, I don't really see a problem with constitutionalism at all, because obviously you have to be a part of some group. Even the most strict anarcho-capitalist people consider themselves to be anarcho-capitalists. So in that sense, they're part of a group, or they consider themselves to be human, or some type of category that they're not the only person that's in that category. So I think a lot of times people just like to make straw mans about anarcho-capitalism because it's cool to kind of like, oh, those anarcho-capitalists, they're crazy. They think that no one's in charge. But it's true. That's how the world really works. Like, at the end of the day, no one's in charge. People will tell you they're in charge. People will try to convince you they're in charge. People will pull out guns on you and tell you to do stuff. But as soon as you get a bigger gun than them, then you're in charge. So it's not like there's no decree. There's no like downward force forcing one person to be in charge, like gravity or something like that, where this person's in charge by nature, through nature. No, it's all through merit or through force. So I just don't see how the necessity for having a military runs counter to the anarcho-capitalist worldview as most people present it. They're like, well, I would be anarcho-capitalist, but you need a military. Of course. It's like, what anarcho-capitalists are saying that you don't need to defend yourself from physical threat? I don't know many. Maybe some of the anarcho-communists that think that you shouldn't have borders and no guns and no nothing, and because everybody's going to hug it out. That's anarcho-communism. Anarcho-capitalism is all about private property, protecting your property through force. So I'm kind of missing the part where anarcho-capitalists are against, militaries or using force to defend themselves. I'm missing that part because I haven't heard any say that. So if you can produce a couple like really popular anarcho-capitalists that are against defending themselves through the use of force, I would love to see their stuff. So again, just to quickly reiterate, because I don't want to go on too long at this point, is that, anarcho-capitalism is a worldview that accepts that no one's in charge really, and that the only way that you can have authority is either through merit or through force. And the capitalism part is just an acceptance that humans do need to basically trade or have some type of exchange system of produce or whatever, because basically society is the only thing that separates man from animals. Without society and exchange of ideas, the exchange of information, the exchange of products, we might as well just be animals. So, of course, the capitalism part fits in there, and the anarcho part is just not that it's against authority, but it's just that you need to have some type of merit. Like, if you're a doctor, I want to see some people that you healed. It's not like, oh, well, just take this. It's like, well, why? You don't heal people. So there's no merit in what you're saying. Just because you're wearing a lab coat doesn't mean anything. And vice versa, if someone's not wearing a lab coat and everybody that goes to visit them is getting healed, then there's merit in that. And just because the government didn't give them the rubber stamp doesn't mean that they don't have merit. So basically, that's the point, It's not a political system. To say that's a political system would be like saying that the Ten Commandments is a political system. It's not. It's a worldview, and it's a way to construct political systems based on the philosophy of anarcho-capitalism that will fit into the real world. But to say that it itself is a political system is a bit of a misnomer. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. Have a good day and go MGTOW.